Welcome to Dr. Jarrett's Science Shenanigans. This is the teacher edition where we sit down and really look at dissecting the benchmarks the grade 5 students are going to need to pass their end of the year state assessment. I'm excited to work with you. I'm excited to share my knowledge of the benchmarks and what the students will be responsible for, and then how you'll make it be able to come alive in your classroom. I'm looking forward to working with you. I've been passionate about empowering educators in science education for many years. My dedication to science education also led to my dissertation, which focused on developing impactful lessons for science improvement. Since 2007, I've worked with over 75 schools across Florida, assisting in boosting grade 5 science scores. Together, we're making a difference in how young minds explore and engage with science. I'm so excited about you being here with me today. Hello. So, this is a big benchmark. It is SC.4.E.5.4. The 4 after the SC means that this is a fourth grade benchmark. And this benchmark is also assessed as 4E5.1, 4E5.2, and 4E5.3. Because this major benchmark is not a fifth grade benchmark, you most likely will not have it in your textbook. And for some of our students that needed to focus a little bit more on reading and math, they may not have received a specific daily instruction in science in the fourth grade. Those are just facts that we know. So this benchmark encompasses a lot of vocabulary and also concepts that are not right here in our hands, as far as, let's say, matter. If we were working with mixtures and I actually had some Chex Mix in front of me and I had the kids to separate that into different properties, cool. It's right there in their hands. But with space, it's not right there in their hands. So we have to make it come alive for them. But we need to know what the students are expected to know when they leave fifth grade. And this is one of those benchmarks that keep me up late at night when I'm working with teachers or if I'm teaching students myself. So let's go ahead and dive into the first one, which is 4E5.4. Relate that the rotation of the earth day and night and the apparent movements of the sun, moon, and stars are all connected. And so, specifically about day and night, rotation is day and night. Revolution is a year. And that confuses the daylights out of the children. And to be honest, sometimes it confuses me. I got to think back for a second. Wait a minute, what's rotation and what's revolution? So, usually with rotation, we just get the kids to stand up in their seat and then they rotate while they're standing in place and they're just moving around. Then we get the students into a circle and they actually go around the whole classroom, pretending that all of the chairs and desks are the sun. And now they are the earth and they are going one revolution around the sun. And so those are a couple of aspects that we kind of put out there to help the kids remember the two. Also with 4E5.1, observe that patterns of the stars in the sky stay the same, although they appear to shift across the sky nightly, and different stars can be seen in different seasons. All right. So some of our kids don't know seasons, and they may not know which season goes where. They definitely know that there's some things that are happening outside, but a lot of them don't know the connection and how it all works um with the earth and the sun. So for this one, you do have to teach the seasons. However, the students will not be assessed on the seasons. What we've done so that the students can understand this is we have taped up signs around the classroom in the 4 quadrants: fall, summer, winter, spring. And then we put different constellations or different bodies of stars around the room. Now, if I'm standing facing spring, can I see what's behind me? No, you can't. And that is how the different patterns of the stars, which are known as constellations, are seen. Also, you will need to know that the students are not going to be assessed on constellations. So it's just going to say a pattern of stars. It will not say constellations. So, yes, you may call them constellations, but you also need to keep referring to them as patterns of stars. Also, the students will describe the visual changes of the moon, which is moon phases, and or identify the appearance of the moon changes over the course of the lunar cycle. So within the month, some say 29 days, some say 28 and a half days. Basically, within a month's time, the moon will go through phases. They may even have to look at visuals for rotation, for revolution, for patterns of stars in the night sky, for the moon phases. So I always have the students do some type of quick draw where they put the sun first, and then they put the earth in the middle. They draw a circle in between the sun and the earth, and that is always known as a specific moon. Then you look on the right hand side of the drawing, and there's another circle there. That's known as a specific moon as well. And then you have your 2 half moons on the top and the bottom. So when the students are looking at full moon, when they're looking at new moon, it's going to be very important for them to understand the difference between those types of moons. So did you figure out which moons were in which spot? So the students will label new moon. The new moon is always in between the sun and the earth. This is where you have the new moon, and that's because the sun is facing the back of the moon. And then on the right side of the earth, you will have the full moon, and that's because all of the sun's rays are coming down to the onto the moon, and then we're able to see the full moon. So the students are going to have to know that. What the students will not have to know is why are we having these moon phases. So they will not have to know that. They will have to identify and describe the visual changes of the moon, but not so much be assessed on the cause of the moon phases. Items will also not assess or use vocabulary for the moon phases such as waning, waxing, and gibbous. So that leaves us full moon, first quarter, new moon, second quarter, third quarter, and then crescent. So those are the words that the students are going to have to be able to explain, be able to pick it in pictures. Sometimes I've seen where they have pictures of moons in different textbooks, and then the students have to look through the different types of pictures and pick one picture that identifies the new moon or identifies the full moon. So it's lots of pictures when it deals with moon phases. They may also have some scenarios, some questions that go along where there are no pictures. So they need to be able to navigate between both of those types of questions. Also, we are not looking at the causes of season or the direct sunlight to the earth that causes those seasons or the earth's tilt. So it will not ask them any questions of those areas. Now, it is very hard because the students are talking about the earth tilting on its axis. Can they use those vocabulary words? Absolutely. But they won't primarily see anything that talks about what is the direct sunlight onto the earth, what season does that show, because it's tilting and it refers back to seasons. They won't need to do any of that in the 5th grade. They'll worry about that stuff in the middle school years. The other thing that I wanted to point out is it tells us scenarios referring to patterns of stars in the night sky will not use the term constellation. That's going to happen through a lot of our conversations where it's going to say, listen, I know it's called a constellation, but we're not going to call it that. We're just going to call it patterns of stars in the sky. So when the students are looking at the different patterns of stars in the sky and they don't appear always, it's because of the seasons, or it's because of how the earth is moving. And so it's a tough benchmark to cover. It's a lot within a certain amount of time, because we are talking about rotation, we're talking about revolution, we're talking about moon phases, we're talking about the night sky and the different patterns in the night sky. We can't call it constellations, but that's what it's called. So you can refer to it as constellations. Make sure you say patterns of the stars in the night sky within the same time. And that's kind of where it stops at. Students will describe the visual changes of the moon or identify the appearance of the moon changes of the course of the lunar cycle. Again, that's when I was saying that there may be some pictures. There might be some visual changes. So it may be pictures of the different phases of the moon, and then the student may have to pick what's next or pick what comes before this, or there may be a synopsis that it's giving a description of what's happening, and then they have to answer the question. Make sure that your students know what is rotation and what is revolution. That is going to be key. Make sure that you can introduce, I'm not saying that you can't for the moon phases, waxing, waning, and gibbous, but your questions are going to be about the vocabulary the students are required to know in the 5th grade, which would be first quarter, second quarter, or third quarter. Depends on which moon phases map you're looking at. Full moon, new moon, and crescent. So those are the questions that you're going to be focusing on. So if I'm looking in my textbook and I give the students an assignment to do, and it has them spending 20 minutes on waxing, waning, and gibbous. Okay, we're going to take that 20 minutes away. They're not going to do that. You're going to put another activity in there where the students are focusing on the vocabulary that are required for the 5th grade. Now, still, can they do the Oreo cookie lab? Absolutely. Oreos for everyone. Make sure you wear gloves. Other than that, that's pretty much it for the moon phases. And again, you definitely want to have some type of blow up solar system, blow up moon, blow up sun, or create one yourself. Lots of visuals for the students with this benchmark. So thank you again for being here with me today for SC.4.E.5.4. In addition to that, there were 3 other benchmarks that were 4th grade, which was 4E5.1, 4E5.2, and 4E5.3. Thank you again. Thank you so much again for watching this session. The book, Unveiling the Power of Impactful Science Instruction, is available on Amazon, and it is a glimpse into my dissertation investigating the improvement in science achievement among fifth grade science students when using the instructional model.